We got a 17 Armada in here, 5.6. This one was at the dealership for a timing cover reseal. After that, a couple weeks, months later, it developed a p0016, p0018, and a p0022, which are all cam and crank correlation codes. So, of course, the dealer pretty much refused to do anything about it. So here it is. We're doing the diagnostic testing on it. So basically, the testing for this is check the sensors, make sure that they don't have a bunch of metal on the tips because they're magnets and they do absorb metal. The second part of it is they want you to measure the resistances between these pins. So these are the measurements here between the pins 1 and 2, 1 and 3, and 2 and 3 should basically be anything other than 0. So these ones measured out at about 35 million, and 2 and 3 was 1.05K. So that fits within the acceptable range of not 0. So the other part of this is they want you to test the spool valves. This one has a spool valve for the intake and the exhaust on both sides. So what I found was the intake spool valve for the passenger side was basically frozen. The tip was stuck out and I couldn't get it to move. So I stuck a screw in there to get it to move, and now it functions. But at first it wasn't functioning at all. So essentially how this works is PCM pulse width modulates this plunger in here, and that's what feeds oil to the phasers, and that's what advances and retards the cam. So this one was stuck out. I'm not sure if that's advanced or retarded. Either way, it doesn't really matter. So basically what was happening was the cam was over advanced, and so that's what's causing the cam crank correlation codes. Now the PCM is smart enough to know that the cam and the crank aren't within sync. All it knows is to test the resistance of here to make sure that that is within spec. So even though it was applying a voltage to this, it was receiving the signal back that the voltage was dropping, but it wasn't able to tell that the tip wasn't moving. So in this particular case, we're going to end up replacing some of these spool valves. This is what I found on the driver's side bank 1 intake. It was broken off, and the basically it looks like they just shoved it in there. You can see the little flange here is bent forward, so it looks like they just tried to pry it in there. I was able to get a new one in there without damaging it, so that's exciting. Now the spool valves on this, on the driver's side, they live right down here. One of them is behind this water pipe, kind of see that cylinder there, and the other one sits here. I don't have a new one to put in that side yet, so that one got left open. On the passenger side, underneath this water bottle, you got to take this these coolant hoses off, drain the coolant out, take the belt off. But the intake phaser sits right here, and the exhaust one's down there. So down there, kind of see that green connector. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that one out, see what it does. But it looks like this one just had a couple bad spool valves. One of them was an improper install, and based off of the history, which I won't go into in this video on this vehicle, it looks like they got some sort of contamination in there, and that's what stuck that valve open. So hopefully we'll be able to put a couple spool valves in this thing and get it back on the road.